Over the next several years, Volvo has major plans to become one of the first automakers to be all electric by 2030. That is, nothing sold that's not fully electric. And part of that transition is the launch of the C40, which is their first vehicle designed solely as an electric vehicle. This is what I'm going to cover in this review. We've got a lot of things to get through, so stick around. Let's check out the C40. The C40, just like the XC40 Recharge and the Polestar 2, have the same type of powertrain combination. There is a dual motor all-wheel drive system, and they are connected to a 78 kilowatt hour battery, notable of which 75 of it is usable. That's important to bear in mind when charging. I'll get into that later on. This offers a lot of potential. With a battery that size in a vehicle like this, this could be either something with a lot of range, or it can be something with a fair amount of power and performance. That's something we're seeing nowadays with EVs. You know, the more choices we have, the more sort of segmenting we're seeing with how the automaker wants to present it. So with the C40, it is about power. The output of this powertrain combination is 402 net horsepower and 486 pound-feet of torque. So that's a lot of fun in a small package. In fact, in terms of acceleration times, you're looking at 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.7 seconds and 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4.3 seconds. But of course, the trade-off, when you're going to take the amount of energy you have, the usable energy, and give it more towards output, you're going to sacrifice some of the range. And that is one thing that happens here, because the posted driving range for this C40, is similar to what we saw with the XC40 Recharge when it came out. It's only 364 kilometers, which is 226 miles. I mean, that's not bad, but certainly with what we're seeing coming out in Model 22 and 2023s, we're seeing many vehicles surpass that. But of course, that's also just a bench line measurement. In ideal conditions, you would easily be able to get well above 400 kilometers. It's warm weather now, and of course, that's going to be something to the benefit. Warm weather is going to be better for range than cold weather, but it's also really hot. I've had to rely on air conditioning, so that's going to take some of it away. But that's your baseline, and that's the sacrifice: more power and performance, less range overall. Another way you can see how a vehicle performs, not only just with range, but we're going to be looking at efficiency. And energy efficiency is an increasingly important metric you should be using with electric vehicles. Now we have more and more models coming out. We have to better compare them at how well they use the energy they have, and it can be programmed either way. This C40, because of its preference on performance and power, does not do very well. It is not a very efficient vehicle. There can be improvements, but right now it's one of the least efficient out there. You can measure it just as you would with, miles per gallon or liters per 100 kilometers. There are different ways to indicate how efficient it is. The C40 is rated at two metrics. One is in terms of how much energy per 100 miles or kilometers. So in that case, this is rated at 39 kilowatt hours per 100 miles, which would also be basically 24 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Another way of indicating that would be just basically how much distance you can get on a single equivalent of a gallon of gas. So you've got in the US 87 mpge is the metric. In Canada, that is 2.7 liters E per 100 kilometers. The C40, of course, is based upon the XC40, whereas the XC40 Recharge is a crossover. This is what you would call a traditional crossover coupe or crossover coupe. And that's providing some exterior design differences, but also some commonalities. And I just want to go through the exterior look of this right now. From the B-pillar forward, between the XC40 Recharge and the C40, you're looking at pretty much the same designs. You have your traditional Thor's hammer headlights, of course, which is synonymous with all Volvo vehicles right now. Where this front is different, with the XC40 gas model and both the XC40 Recharge and C40, of course, is the color coordinated, color matched front grille. You don't need air intakes with no engine, so that's why there's no actual grille there. But when you move beyond from the B-pillar back, while the fender lines and the body lines are still relatively consistent, it's when you get here to this really dramatically swooped back, this line here where it's aggressively lined, and now you have what Volvo calls a more athletic presentation. And I would agree. I really do think this is a sharp looking vehicle. You have this rapidly swoop back down here. You have air intakes on the overhead to provide better aerodynamics, as well as helping to clear the rear windshield for water. I mean, again, there's no rear wiper blade, which is not as much a problem here as it is with, say, the Ioniq 5. That really seems to be the one vehicle without a rear wiper blade that is struggling with it. You've got your spoiler here as well. And the rear taillights, well, again, that very signature Volvo style, they're segmented, and so it prevents a really unique look overall. Probably an engineering challenge too, but really nice and distinctive. It's always important to know where the charge port is on an EV because it can be in different placements, and here it is driver side North America, so left-hand side at the rear. If you have a previous EV, I mean, you hope that is consistent if you built a home charger, so it's always important to know where it is. In my case right now, where I live, it's probably the least convenient spot, but it's good to know that's where it is. What also helps with the exterior, of course, you've got your blacked out tops for the distinctiveness, and again, another sort of more aggressive presentation. But you also are sitting a little bit higher. This crossover coupe is, the ground clearance is basically about 7 inches. Not enough to go full off-roading, but if you're on a cottage road, that's a nice clearance there. But you're also riding on these 20-inch wheels. You've got your 5-spoke alloy design, and it's 235 on the fronts and 255s here in the back. So again, it's really a bit of a hefty overall look to it. And the general presentation, throw in this really unique color too. They call it Fjord Blue, and that's really the signature color of this vehicle. It also is inspired, according to the design team at Volvo, by Sweden itself. I mean, the climate there, in their own words, is generally, gray, not a lot of daylight. But when the sun does come out in Sweden, everything just changes. It brightens the perspective. So as sort of a homage to that, with the blue skies on great days, this Fjord Blue is their signature color, which carries on into the inside, and I'll show you in a bit. I really like the look of this XC40, I said it again. I really like the look of the C40 much better, I think, than the XC40. So for the C40, we have to talk about charging, and I might as well do that right now, as I am actually at a fast charging station. I'm at an Electrify Canada fast charging station. The C40 here has up to 150 kilowatt DC fast charging capabilities. I'm at a 150 charger right now. According to time, in terms of how long it would take to charge, in the published literature, you're looking at 10 to 80% in 37 minutes. That's always under ideal situations. We've been getting a lot into charging speeds. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into how fast a vehicle will charge. The temperature of the battery, the ambient temperature that you're in at the moment. In wintertime, it will be slower, of course. But right now, this is pretty much ideal conditions, so I will keep an eye if that 10 to 80%. I started at about 15%, so we'll see how it goes. All C40 owners will receive with the vehicle a portable 12240 volt charging cable. It's got an adapter, so you can get into level 2 charging if you want. It has the ability to, now this vehicle, the C40, will take a level 2 charging up to 11 kilowatt max, so that's 48 amps. And if you had an up to 11 kilowatt charger, you would be able to fully recharge this battery from empty to full in about 8 hours. With the cable, it only has up to 9 kilowatt potential. It's a 40 amp. In that case, it would take you about 9 hours. Because of the fact that I mentioned earlier that most of the battery is usable, there's only about 3 kilowatts not usable, Volvo recommends that you never charge above 90%. There'll probably always be some times, but because of it's so close to the full amount of the battery that's usable. They don't want you typically going to 100%. I guess if you did, you'd really have to trickle up to the top. But we're looking at, 90% is the recommendation. So we'll see how this goes. As we're charging, I'll keep an eye on time and let you know how long it took me in the end. Well, the claim that they make seems to be true, because I went from about 15% to 80% in 34 minutes. When you look at the interior of the C40, you're going to see a lot of similarities to the XC40, just like on the exterior, but also like on the exterior, you're going to see some pretty unique differences. Now, overall, the general concept of Swedish minimalism remains at play here. There is not a lot about the interface and the center console that's going to overwhelm you. It's not overly intricate. In fact, as they say, it really is quite simplistic and minimalist. You are certainly, the center console here, you have your 9-inch center screen. It's getting a bit small by comparison, I think, to what we see with other EVs in the market. It's, I don't know if it's quite getting a bit long in the tooth, but certainly it's been around a while. And, certainly there's a host of information here. You can obviously program it to set what you want. You've got your music and your maps. I'm keeping my EV range on my home screen here on the center console. You can change that up. The operating system here in the C40, similar to the XC40, is a native Google Android system. Now, that's not Android Auto. That's not the same thing. It is an operating system for the vehicle. It operates, and the voice commands that way are very much as if you were be using Google at home or commanding Google for voice commands. So you have the ability to obviously get for directions or adjust your climate settings. One thing it can do is that can actually do some jokes here. Hey, Google, tell me a bad joke.
What's the difference between a guitar and a fish? You can tune a guitar, but you can't tune a fish.
Well, there you go. In case you need a bad joke along the drive, it's available there for you. The instrument cluster, of course, is typical Swedish minimalism. There's not a lot of information you can get on there. You've got your speeds. You can actually put your map visualized right here in the information cluster. You can also get a trip meter, but that's about it. That's really not much else you can do. There are a number of differences in the interior compared to the XC40. That fjord blue color scheme, which we saw on the outside, does carry forward in the interior as well. There's a lot of carpeting on the doors, panels, on the sides here, and it's the same color blue. And actually, it's a really nice color combination. It doesn't detract at all. It's not gauche. I mean, some of these color combinations we're seeing nowadays are quite out there. This works really well. Another really unique feature here, the trim panels and on the door panels, there is sort of a textured kind of pattern. It is a rippled effect, and it's supposed to actually emulate the topography of a park in Sweden, a Abisko National Park. They sort of took a landscape. And I mean, that's cool, but what's really neat is it's backlit on the door panels and on here. So at night, what you see is this sort of illuminated, translucent, and it's a really cool effect. And at night, it's, there's a really neat visual, and I didn't expect it at first, and I really, really like it. Volvo is making commitments to sustainability, of course, by going all electric, but you also have to add these ideas and thoughts to the interior, and that comes with such things as the trim panels, for example, that illuminate. They are made partially with recycled plastic, and the carpeting, this blue carpeting, is made from 100% recycled PET plastic. That's the same plastic you would have in drink bottles, or even, cups like this here. Eventually that would become broken down and turned into this fabric. Even the seats that we have, no longer, the C40 is the first vehicle Volvo has ever offered without a leather seating option. Instead, you've got two options. You have wool fibers as a sort of a base material, and here, this combination of suede and microtech is the other combination, but the suede is also manufactured using recycled PET plastic. So you're looking, sustainability outside and in. The raked hood line that is synonymous with that coupe, the distinctive look that's different with the C40 compared to the XC40, obviously makes it look good, but it does reduce space on the inside. So you have less headroom in the second row, but it also has an impact on cargo space. Now, in terms of cargo, with the second row seats up, your rear cargo space is just at 17.3 cubic feet. It's not bad, but not great. This is a small vehicle, so that's to be expected in a sense. There is, the seats will fold down 60-40, and then when that happens, you're up to 42.6 cubic feet. If you have a long item like skis, there is a middle where the cup holders would come out. You can actually push it through, and if you just want to do that. Additionally, there is a small frunk underneath. It's like a cubic feet, so it's not really, maybe you want to hide something, or maybe it's good for putting cables in there, but there is a little bit there. You also have some center storage console space here, but I mean, there's not a ton of interior storage space. In terms of actual performance and drive itself, I mean, this vehicle is fun. I mean, all electric vehicles with the maximum torque at 0 RPMs and all the other features, especially with this one being weighted towards power, it's a blast, it's weighted, it's balanced, the low center of gravity thanks to the batteries makes it enjoyable. But there's a couple little annoyances I have in the drive, how it drives. Number one is there's no sport drive mode, eco drive mode. It's just drive. And really the only other alternative you can have from just simple driving is you can employ one pedal driving, which is possible. You've actually got to enter the settings on your center screen to do so. And then of course with one pedal driving, you have basically a high regen mode, and you just take your foot off the accelerator and it will, brake, and you would come to a full stop. Some people love one pedal driving. I do like it, but I like it in the right situation. I find the best place for one pedal driving is on a lovely sort of country road where you've got twists and turns and you've got to maybe, go back and forth between accelerator and brake pedal. The drawback with one pedal driving is you always have to have pressure on the pedal. And I find if you do that for a long period of time, your foot tends to be fatigued. And that's always been my experience, and I sometimes would prefer not to. So I would have loved to have seen sort of another option. If we had, like you see in some of the, the Hyundais or Kias, where you have, stepped up regen modes. Do you want a little regen? Do you want a lot? This could use that, and I think it would be something to see coming back if they could ever add that. One of the most important things for EVs to become mainstream and become the tipping point where they are dominant is variety. We need to have a lot of different models out there, and not just in terms of size or category, but the type of vehicle. Do you want performance or efficiency or functionality? And with something like the Volvo C40, we see an example of a compact electric vehicle with a big battery, but chose to go for power as opposed to range. And that's something that is an important part. I don't think this is going to be a big seller overall. I mean, it's expensive as well. And, there's things that will be not appealing for many, but for those looking for something like this, I mean, great. It's a good choice. And the more we see a variety, the better it's going to be in the end. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. If you are subscribed, don't forget to ring that bell so that you're notified every time I upload something new. That's it for now. I'm Eric Novak. Thanks for watching.